Carrie Underwood has always been a symbol of grace and resilience, from her small-town roots in Oklahoma to the glittering heights of celebrity. Her story has inspired millions of people. When harsh criticism evolves into a defamation campaign, Carrie Underwood fights back in the most effective way conceivable. However, what happened after her first performance was something that neither she nor her fans could have predicted. It was intended to be a night of celebration. Carrie had chosen to play a poignant rendition of the national anthem at the swearing-in ceremony of a freshly elected official, was ready to provide an amazing moment. The performance itself was perfect, with her voice soaring as it always has. However, it was her decision to perform that triggered a flood of criticism. By the next morning, headlines were ablaze, and prominent liberal television hosts They utilized their platforms to analyze every single detail of her look, from the symbolism in her outfit to the apparent political connotations in her music choice. What started as harsh critique quickly turned into charges that Carrie was pushing divisive beliefs. For someone who had always sought to avoid political controversy, this was a new experience. Social media became a battleground, with hashtags trending both in support of her and against her. The public debate swiftly spun out of hand, took on a life of its own, yet amidst the turmoil, Carrie kept silent, watching, waiting, and as it would later become evident, preparing, because Carrie Underwood isn't simply a performer, she's a fighter, and what she was about to do would stun the nation. However, this was just the beginning of a story that would put everything we believe we know about freedom of expression, media responsibility, and the personal cost of public criticism to the test. The night of the performance was one of those rare times. The cameras focused in on Carrie Underwood as she stood on the great platform in Washington, D.C., with the Capitol shining behind her. She wore a simple, yet stunning white dress, and her distinctive blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders. The air was thick with expectation, and everything appeared to come to a standstill. When the first notes of the national anthem rang out, her voice was powerful. It was more than just a song. It was a message, a cry that brought people together and seemed to resonate with the crowd that had gathered to witness history. While many people applauded her performance as heartfelt and pure, others had a different opinion. Almost soon, the criticism began. Some people said that her choice of clothes had political meaning that was too obvious and too intentional. Others examined the small alteration she made to the arrangement, perceiving it as a disguised. One well-known television personality called her administration a deliberate public relations ploy, while another accused her of compromising her ideals for the sake of notoriety. However, the thing that really sparked the tempest was a footage from the event that was circulated worldwide. Carrie ended her performance and exchanged a brief smile and handshake with the freshly elected person. For her opponents, that was all they needed. They began to characterize her as someone who aligned herself with controversial ideologies, and that story swiftly gained support. Within hours, Twitter was flooded with replies. One critic remarked, "How could she?" Others questioned her character, arguing that she had abandoned the small-town ideals she regularly sung about in favor of political opportunism. Fans rallied behind her. Flooding social media with messages of support for them, Carrie was simply doing her job by singing a song and not making a statement. However, her silence in the days following the event left room for speculation to fester. Every news cycle seemed to amplify the outrage, and soon it wasn't just about her performance. It was about her as a person, and yet Carrie didn't flinch. She sat quiet, absorbing every barb and headline, waiting for the perfect opportunity to make her move. The aftermath was unrelenting, with every news channel, podcast, and social media feed covering the story. The liberal television program hosts, who were at the center of the controversy, wasted no time in increasing their critiques of Carrie Underwood's performance. Each section felt sharper, more personal, and geared to promote the notion that Carrie's actions. They were more than simply a performance. They were a political statement. One show, noted for its controversial commentary, ran clips of her smiling at the freshly elected politician on a loop. "Is this the face of a neutral artist?" The presenter questioned their tone. Another host, dripping with sarcasm, took aim at her lyrics, quoting an old song of hers and distorting its meaning to infer that she had always had certain political leanings. The charges grew more far-fetched, with some commenters even questioning her faith. Something she had always held near to her identity, the public wasn't passive either. Online forums and comment sections turned into battlegrounds, with fans supporting her authenticity and others calling for boycotts of her music. Hashtags like #Carrie Underwood exposed and #Carrie stood firm at the same time, representing the severely divided public opinion amongst all this hoopla. The liberal hosts didn't stop at criticism. They invited in experts, body language analysts, and political commentators. They blurred the line between criticism and blatant slander by picking apart every frame of her performance and insinuating that Carrie's motives were sinister and self-serving. For days, Carrie kept mute, which some people interpreted as a sign of guilt, while others did not. Carrie and her staff were documenting every comment, charge, and baseless claim made against her. When she finally spoke out, it was not through a tweet or a news conference, but rather through a defamation lawsuit. This was proof of her grace under pressure behind the scenes. When Carrie Underwood eventually spoke up, it sent shockwaves across the entertainment world. She did so with precision and intent, as her legal team filed a defamation lawsuit against the network sponsoring the liberal TV show, identifying the renowned presenters individually. The lawsuit claimed that their comments had gone beyond criticism and had become blatant lies that damaged her reputation and caused her emotional and professional harm. The legal document was detailed and damaging, outlining how the host's repeated suggestions that she had certain political leanings were unfounded and slanderous. It also pointed out the manner they intentionally misrepresented her handshake with the official and how they exaggerated misleading narratives to increase ratings. Carrie's team provided particular examples of segments in which the hosts questioned her faith and personal beliefs. They accused her of trying to destroy her reputation instead of criticizing her performance. News of the lawsuit circulated quickly. The same networks that had condemned her were suddenly rushing to cover the issue, with some of them softening their language as they examined the legal consequences. Carrie's admirers saw it as a moment of vindication when one of them remarked on social media that she was standing up for herself and showed them that they can't just tear people down without consequences. However, not everyone supported her. Detractors claimed that the lawsuit was an attack on free speech. The liberal hosts at the core of the case dug down on their position, arguing that their comments was protected by the First Amendment. One presenter even mocked the lawsuit on live, calling it a desperate attempt to silence the truth. Some people accused Carrie of being unable to take public criticism. Carrie, on the other hand, remained resolute in her brief public statement. She stated that the case was not about limiting freedom of expression, but rather about holding people accountable for breaching ethical lines. "Words have power," she added, "and with that power comes responsibility." As the case progressed, the public was still very divided. News anchors and analysts from across the political spectrum discussed whether Carrie's move was a bold stand for accountability or a frightening precedent for media freedom. While the discussion continued outside the courthouse, the stage was set inside for a legal struggle that promised to reveal far more than anybody had anticipated. When the trial began, the courtroom was filled with journalists, fans, and interested spectators. Carrie Underwood walked in, and the air was thick with expectancy. She was poised yet unmistakably resolute. This wasn't the platform she was used to, but she handled herself with the same confidence that had spurred her to start the legal struggle, which was far from straightforward. Carrie's lawyers started up with convincing evidence by showcasing excerpts from the TV programs in question. The remarks stated by the liberal hosts were not just harsh criticisms, they were also filled with insinuations that made Carrie seem like a hypocrite and a political operative. Every clip appeared to be more incriminating than the previous one, demonstrating how the hosts had constructed a narrative that made it difficult to distinguish between criticism and character assassination. The defense countered by asserting that their commentary was protected by the First Amendment. They asserted that their comments were opinions based on public behavior rather than declarations of truth, and that we have the freedom to criticize public personalities. One of their attorneys stated that Carrie Underwood is no exception, but Carrie's team was ready. They presented emails from the show's producers. During the discovery process, it was revealed that there were conversations about promoting the narrative in order to boost ratings. The messages included instructions to portray Carrie's performance as politically charged, regardless of what she actually intended. As these revelations came to light, the courtroom was filled with murmurs from the audience. Then it was Carrie's turn to speak. She spoke with quiet conviction, detailing the emotional toll of being demonized in the media. "I've spent my entire career trying to bring people together through music," she said. "However, these false charges have attempted to define me in ways that are not true and have caused pain not only to me, but also to my family." Her voice cracked slightly as she explained the impact on her children, who did not comprehend why their mother was being attacked on television. The most dramatic moment came when Carrie's lawyer submitted the last piece of evidence, which was a covertly recorded conversation between two of the show's producers. In the recording, one of the producers stated that the presenters had exaggerated their statements in order to make the segments more contentious. The courtroom erupted and the judge called for order. The defense scrambled to mitigate the damage, but the momentum had clearly shifted. Even the public, which had been so divided, seemed to take notice of the manipulative tactics exposed during the trial. But the question remained, would the jury consider this a clear case of defamation, or would they agree with the host's claims of free speech? The verdict was right around the corner, and the stakes had never been greater. As the courtroom drama developed, the world outside appeared to be just as divided. News sources on all sides of the political spectrum analyzed every statement, disclosure, and testimony. Social media platforms became battlegrounds for heated disputes over freedom of speech, the ethics of media criticism, and the obligations of public individuals. Supporters of Carrie Underwood took to social media platforms like Instagram and Twitter to post messages of encouragement, using hashtags like #StandWithCarrie and #TruthMatters. One fan tweeted, "This isn't just about her. The issue is how we allow the media to treat individuals. She is fighting for something broader, while detractors have accused Carrie of seeking to silence the media and restrict free expression." Well-known pundits have suggested that the case sets a dangerous precedent. One analyst asked that if public figures can sue over harsh criticism, where does it end? This may quiet the press, but it was no longer just about Carrie. The leaked emails and recorded conversation had started a much bigger conversation about the ethics of sensationalism in media. Panels of journalists debated the boundary between legitimate criticism and targeted defamation. Public personalities came forward to relate their own experiences of being misrepresented, further fueling the dialogue in coffee shops and offices. The average American weighed in. Some people sympathized with Carrie because they understood how much public scrutiny might affect a person. Others were concerned about the consequences of holding media outlets legally responsible for their beliefs. The case captivated the nation, not only because of the drama, but also because of what it revealed. Carrie remained silent and appeared calm and attentive during her judicial appearances, despite the fact that the borders of media truth and accountability are becoming increasingly blurred. She let the facts to speak for itself and did not participate in the public back and forth. Her restraint just added to the fascination surrounding the trial, leaving everyone guessing how it would conclude. As the final arguments loomed and the trial neared its conclusion, the spotlight switched back to the courtroom, were the destiny of this incredible battle. The courtroom was still as the jury returned with their decision. The four people rose, the weight of the occasion clear in every measured syllable. "We find in favor of the plaintiff, Carrie Underwood." The words landed like a seismic shift. Carrie's expression was calm, but the slight raise of her shoulders revealed the immense burden she had been bearing. The jury had decided that the hosts and their network had definitely crossed the line, and the result was a resounding victory. Carrie was defamed with a reckless disregard for the truth, and damages were granted in the millions, not just as compensation but as a statement about accountability in media practices. The public reaction was quick and loud, and Carrie's supporters cheered the verdict. "As a triumph for fairness and integrity, this isn't about silencing criticism," one fan tweeted. "It's about drawing a line when that criticism becomes destructive lies." Others regarded it as a long-needed reckoning for sensationalist media, congratulating Carrie for taking a position not only for herself, but for everyone who has ever been wrongfully dragged through the mud by headlines. On the other side, critics condemned the ruling as a frightening blow to free expression, and opinion pieces questioned what this would imply for journalists. Some of the accused presenters remained obstinate, declaring that they would appeal, but their reputations had already taken a significant harm. For Carrie, the win was bittersweet. In an emotional address outside the courts, she thanked her followers for standing by her, especially those who remark on prominent figures. She replied, "This was never about silencing anyone," her voice firm even though her eyes were clearly filled with emotion. "It was about truth. Words matter, and they have real consequences. I hope this reminds everyone in the media to choose them wisely." She talked about how the trial had affected not only her but also her family. She confessed that there were times when she wanted to give up and let the storm pass, but she persevered because she believed that the fight was bigger than her. "This wasn't just about clearing my name," she said. "It was about reminding all of us. The importance of accountability is not diminished by the power of the platform." In the months following the case, media companies took a second look at their editorial policies, being careful not to breach the limits they were now reluctant to cross. The trial served as a reminder to both fans and watchers that there are real people behind the headlines, and it encouraged a move toward more serious and ethical discourse. Carrie's battle was a difficult one. However, it sent a clear message. Standing up for yourself, especially when faced with a lot of criticism, can lead to real change. Carrie Underwood's journey was not just about winning a legal battle, it was also about recovering her dignity and truth. Her story serves as a reminder that public figures are still human beings who deserve respect and fairness, even though they are constantly being watched. This case also highlights a deeper truth for all of us. Words have power, whether they are spoken on national television or not. The things we say have an impact, whether they are typed out in a tweet or shared in a private discussion. They may build someone up or tear them down, sometimes with effects we can't predict. Carrie's fight encourages us to be more deliberate in how we communicate with people. It is especially important to hold ourselves and the media accountable for the narratives we produce and consume, especially during a time when it is simpler than ever to spread opinions without considering their impact. As we reflect on Carrie's resilience, let's remember the significance of sticking up for what is right. Even when the odds seem impossible, whether it is safeguarding your reputation, defending your ideals, or pursuing justice, it is always worth it to stay true to yourself. If her tale inspired you, affected you, or made you think differently, consider joining the debate. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge the status quo, ignite critical discussions, and remind us of the power of truth. Let's continue this conversation. Together we can make a difference, because ultimately it's not only about what happens to Carrie, it is about what we learn from it.